Welcome to our training segment on who is eligible for Section 504 services. When deciding who is eligible for Section 504 accommodations, one must turn to the legal definition of a person with a disability. Section 504 and the Americans with Disability Act continue to define disability as an individual with a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, or who has a record of such an impairment, or who is regarded as having such an impairment. The main focus of the school is the first part of the definition, whether or not a student has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. The other two parts are secondary in nature in regards to eligibility and are used in a situation in which a person's civil rights are violated. One of the first steps to determine eligibility is to analyze whether there is a substantial limitation in one or more major life activity. Please refer to the list that is before you. In this illustration, you see many major life activities to consider. Please note this list is not exhaustive. As you analyze this list, you can see that an individual with a physical disability could have a substantial limitation with caring for oneself, eating, walking, standing, lifting, or bending, to name a few. A child with a learning disability could have a substantial limitation with learning and reading. A child with significant ADHD could be limited in concentrating and thinking. I happen to have a husband who is blind. He is limited in the major life activity of seeing. Many of our students who attend school have a physical impairment in combination with significant medical health care needs. Please refer to this next list. This list of physical conditions is not an exhaustive list, but is to be used as examples of major bodily functions that Congress felt should be considered as major life activities. A substantial limitation in any of these functions could meet the definition of a qualified person with a disability under Section 504. Remember, in our legal definition of a person with a disability, there must be a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activity. A regulatory provision in the law further defines a mental impairment as including intellectual disabilities, mental illness, and specific learning disabilities. Consideration must be made to determine if the impairment is considered substantial and the degree to which the impairment impacts the student's education before eligibility can be determined. Please refer to this next list of different disabilities or conditions. If you have a child with one or more of these conditions, he or she might be eligible under Section 504. An evaluation and further analysis by a team of qualified professionals must take place first before a final decision can be made. And again, please note this list is not exhaustive. To be considered a person with a disability, you only need to show one impairment that substantially limits one major life activity. The law also states an impairment that is episodic or in remission is also considered a disability if it would substantially limit a major life activity when active. For example, a student with depression, diabetes, asthma, or anxiety could meet the disability criteria if the condition, when active, is considered substantially limiting. In addition, the law also states decisions should be made without regard to improvements a student might experience due to mitigating measures. Mitigating measures could include medication, equipment or appliances, low vision devices, hearing aids and cochlear implants, and other mobility devices. Ordinary eyeglasses and contact lenses are not considered mitigating measures. The positive effects of mitigating measures must be excluded in the decision-making process. An example of this is a child on medication. When he is on the medication, it masks his disability and he appears to function just fine. When he is off his medication, his behavior deteriorates and his disability is active again. In determining eligibility for Section 504 services, the team must disregard the positive effects of the medication in making their determination. In summary, it is important to ask yourself the following questions in determining eligibility for Section 504 services. Is there a physical or mental disability? If so, does it limit a major life activity? What major life activity does it impact? And lastly, does the impairment substantially limit his or her ability to learn or perform any other major life activity at school?